Hello everyone, welcome to Lukman IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 15th of December 2023. In today's newspaper analysis, we are going to cover the most important articles from the newspaper. And today there were articles from the international relations section, there were articles from environment and ecology, and there are articles from health and Indian polity. So we are going to look into these articles one by one, and also we have included a mapping topic so that these topics may help you to prepare for the UPSC prelims exam. So let us see the list of articles that we are going to discuss in today's newspaper analysis. So these are the articles that we will cover today, right? So the first topic that we are going to cover is Scandinavian countries. So it's a mapping topic. So let us see where are Scandinavian countries located. All right. So I have included two maps for you. One of the map showcases the political, let's say, aspect of Scandinavian countries, their locations and geographical territories it showcases, right? So these three countries are considered to be part of Scandinavian countries. Number one is Norway, this one. Number two is Sweden, this one. And number three is Finland, this country, okay? Norway, Sweden, Finland. These are the three countries that are part of Scandinavian countries, all right? Norway, Finland, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. So once again, if you look into this particular map, this map also, let's say, talks about various other places. For example, here we are going to look into some of the locations. One of the location is this Gulf of Bothnia. This is known as Gulf of Bothnia. You see, it is located here. I'm just going to write it. It is like Gulf of Bothnia, Bothnia, Gulf of Bothnia. It's located here. Apart from this, to the west of Norway, we have Norwegian Sea. Okay, this is Norwegian Sea just to the west of Norway. And apart from this, if we talk about North Sea is over here, just to the north of Denmark. Okay, so we have Denmark, just like let's say Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway. So these are some of the countries that are known as Nordic countries, and these three countries are known as Scandinavian countries. All right, so this is the thing. Apart from this, there is another Gulf. This Gulf is known as Gulf of Finland. Okay, Gulf of Finland over here. And you might have heard about St. Petersburg. Okay, St. Petersburg is a location. It's an important location, and this is this belongs to Russian Federation. It belongs to Russia. All right, and we have Baltic Sea. Where is Baltic Sea? This is the location of Baltic Sea. We can see over here in this map also. This is the location of Baltic Sea. Baltic Sea is to the north of Poland, left of Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, like that. Okay, so this is Baltic Sea. So this is important. Apart from this, in this map, we can locate this Iceland. Although Iceland is not a part of Scandinavian countries, okay? It's an island nation. It is known as Iceland. So this is where Iceland is located. You can see, right? Greenland is located, let's say, to the north of it. So this is Greenland, okay? This is where. So having understood the mapping topics, now let us quickly move to the first article of the day. We are going to discuss about this particular article. This article is very, very important. It is important from the viewpoint of environment and ecology. Okay, so let us discuss about this article. So this article has been written by a person, right, who is an environmentalist. So let us write down the name of the article, then we are going to discuss in detail about this article. It says COP28, many a slippery slope ahead, right? COP28, many a slippery slope ahead. So through this article, basically we are going to understand about the Conference of Parties. We are going to understand about the Dubai Consensus that was recently released, and we are going to discuss about the outcomes of the Conference of Parties. Okay, so before this, let us understand what is the relevance of this particular topic. What is the relevance? So this topic is relevant under environment and ecology section. This topic is equally important for the prelims exam, and it's also important for the mains exam. Okay, it's also important for the mains exam under GS paper 3. GS paper 3. This is the thing. So here in this article, basically they have discussed about very important thing which is known as Conference of Parties. Okay, in short it is known as COP. So now COP 28 was recently held. Okay, COP 28 to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Okay, UNFCCC. And this COP 28 has been held in Dubai, right? It was held in Dubai, which is located in United Arab Emirates. When we talk about the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, so this Framework Convention on Climate Change was established in 1995. So in 1995, they have had the first Conference of Parties, and now in 2023 they had 28th Conference of Party. Okay, what? 28th Conference of Party to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. What is the purpose of this, let's say, like, Framework Convention on Climate Change? Its purpose is to, let's say, mitigate the climate change. Its purpose is to, let's say, avoid the risk associated with climate change. Its purpose is to reduce the impact of climate change. Okay, for that it holds meeting, right? Annual meeting in its member countries, right? So like this time it was held in Dubai. Before this it was held in Morocco, right? Marrakesh, which is the capital of Morocco. So it was held there. So when we talk about this Conference of Parties which was held in Dubai, basically here there were 2-3 major outcomes of this Conference of Party. What are those major outcomes? One of the major outcome is they have released Global Stocktake Report. Number one, they have released Global Stocktake Report. And this is the first Global Stocktake Report that was released. The second major outcome is they have released a document which is known as Dubai Consensus. Okay, they have released a document which is known as Dubai Consensus. We are going to discuss about these things in detail, but let us understand these topics, let's say, point by point. Okay, Global Stocktake Report was released, Dubai Consensus was released, and they have also set up Loss and Damage Fund. What? They have set up Loss and Damage Fund. Basically, they have funded this particular fund. So these are some of the major highlights of Conference of Parties over here. So when we talk about Global Stocktake Report, so let us discuss about in detail about Global Stocktake Report. Okay, so number one, this Global Stocktake Report is associated with Paris Agreement, right? It is associated with Paris Agreement, and this Paris Agreement was signed by the member countries in 2015. So what is the importance of Paris Agreement? Basically, in the Paris Agreement, these member countries have discussed among themselves, that number one, they are going to, let's say, work on global warming. Global warming in the sense, the world is already warming, so they are going to take steps so that global warming may be, let's say, like stopped. Maybe, let's say, like, there should be some limit put on global warming. So this Paris Agreement is very important because here steps were taken to mitigate global warming, right? Steps were taken to mitigate global warming. Why global warming happens? Global warming happens because of release of greenhouse gases. Okay, because of release of greenhouse gases. And these greenhouse gases includes carbon dioxide, this includes carbon monoxide, this includes chlorofluorocarbons, this includes hydrofluorocarbons, right? So because of release of these greenhouse gases, right, the atmosphere gets polluted. The concentration of these gases in the atmosphere increases, and these gases have the potential, right, of trapping heat waves. Since it traps heat waves and these gases remain in the, let's say, like, suspended in the atmosphere, so global, like, world warms. So this leads to global warming. So the envelope of air, right, on the, let's say, like, over the surface of the earth, right? This gets warmed up. So we want to mitigate global warming. To mitigate the global warming, in the Paris Agreement, basically they have decided to take steps so that emission of greenhouse gases may be reduced. And as part of the Paris Agreement, they have, let's say, taken some targets, right? They have taken some targets. What are the targets? Number one target is they will not let the global warming go beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade as compared to pre-industrial level, right, by the end of this century. And if it is not met, so they will definitely not let the global warming go beyond 2 degrees centigrade as compared to, let's say, pre-industrial level by the end of this century, okay, as compared to what? Pre-industrial level. So before, what do we mean by pre-industrial level? Before the world started doing industrialization, before industrialization started, what people started doing, basically, let's say, like, at that point of time, global warming was not much. So industrialization has led to, let's say, like, evolution of or emission of these gases, and it has, let's say, like, impacted the climate. It has impacted the climate. So Paris Agreement. So let us understand some more things related to Paris Agreement. Okay, maybe I'll make it a little smaller, right? So what has happened? As part of the Paris Agreement, right, it was agreed upon by the member countries that they are going to come up with a report which is known as Global Stocktake Report. Okay, they are going to come up with a report which is known as Global Stocktake Report, and this Global Stocktake Report would be released once every 5 years. Okay, it would be released at what frequency? It will be released once every 5 years. So as we discussed earlier also, that Paris Agreement was signed in 2015, Global Stocktake Report had to come up in 2020. But it was a pandemic year. 2020-21 was a pandemic year across the world, right? So that's why the report was not released. But this time they have come up with the first ever Global Stocktake Report, right? First ever Global Stocktake Report. So what is the outcome of this Global Stocktake Report? What they mentioned about it? So basically, Global Stocktake Report has, let's say, clubbed some scientific, reports, right, that were already available. For example, scientific report says that that global warming happens because of emission of fossil fuels, because of usage of fossil fuels. Okay, global warming happens because of emission of fossil fuels, and fossil fuels generally lead to, let's say, emission of carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide concentration has increased by 75%, right? So in this article, basically, they have discussed about how the concentration of carbon dioxide has increased. So from the outset, fossil fuels responsible for around 75% of greenhouse gases and about 90% of the global carbon dioxide. Okay, so because of fossil fuel, 90% of the global carbon dioxide that is there, right, it is because of fossil fuel. Global warming is contributed to 75% extent because of fossil fuel. So in this particular Paris Agreement, in this particular discussion that happened in Dubai, different countries have, let's say, asked for different measures to be taken. For example, if we talk about those countries that are small enough, so some of the countries are known as SIDS. Okay, some of the countries are known as SIDS. What are these? Small Island Developing States. Okay, SIDS stands for Small Island Developing States. Okay, Small Islands Developing States. So when we talk about small islands developing states, these are basically those countries that are island nations, and the island nations are, right, island nations are, let's say, like, this is the country, and this country, let me draw this one, let's say this is the country, and this country is surrounded by a vast ocean from all sides. So it is surrounded by vast amount of ocean from all sides. This is the thing. Since these countries are surrounded by vast amount of ocean, what is the risk? That if the sea level rises, these countries may get submerged. Okay, because of rise of sea level, these countries may get submerged. So that's why, so these countries are pressing more for reducing, right, for reducing the global warming, for reducing the global warming. Why? Because these countries are facing existential crisis, existential threat. Okay, they are facing existential threat. Why they are facing existential threat? Because of global warming. Okay, because of global warming, what is happening? Glaciers are retreating. Okay, glaciers are retreating. Since glaciers are retreating, it is leading to sea level rise. It is leading to sea level rise. And since sea level is increasing, so that's why these island nations, right, are at existential threat, because like, you know, the sea level may rise to an extent that these islands may be totally submerged. If they totally get submerged, so in that case, like, you know, they will have existential threat. So these small island developing nations wants that fossil fuel must be totally, right, phased out. But the thing is, what has happened is that, like in Dubai, in the Dubai climate negotiation, most of the people who participated, there were around 2,000 people, right? There were around 2,000 people who were, let's say, lobbying in the sense, who were themselves from the fossil fuel industry. So they were lobbying together so that phase out of fossil fuel is not called upon. So that's why they have, let's say, like, you know, there were many protests also. That's why they have, let's say, adopted the key word, which is transition away. Okay, which is transition away. They have adopted the keyword which is known as transition away. This is the thing. Okay, so this is an important part. This is an important discussion. So in this article, the author says that this particular draft that is there, that was released, so they have released a kind of Dubai consensus. What they have released? Dubai consensus. And this Dubai consensus is a kind of document which is having, let's say, loose definitions. So author says that it also made a special mention of carbon capture, utilization and storage. What they discussed? Carbon capture, utilization and storage. Okay, carbon capture, utilization and storage. Carbon capture means from the environment you capture the carbon, keep in some kind of canisters and dig it, let's say, like, you know, put it inside the earth. So that's carbon capture. You can utilize the carbon and you can store the carbon like that. Okay, so they discussed about this thing, and also they discussed about another important issue which is known as CBDR. CBDR means common but differentiated responsibility. Common but differentiated responsibility. Okay, common but differentiated responsibility. What are these CBDR? Basically, every country in the world, they are of different size. Their economy has grown to certain extent. I mean, like, all the countries are not at equal footing when it comes to their economic status or economic, let's say, prowess. So that's why it is important that, like, you know, these countries, right, should not be given equal mandate related to action on climate change. So that's why all countries have a common responsibility of doing their bit so that the climate related risk may be averted. But they have differentiated responsibilities, means like some countries have more responsibility to work, other countries have little less responsibility to work, because they have different capabilities also. This is the thing. Okay, so with this, let us now quickly move to another article. This article is also equally important. It says authenticity in a post-authentic world. This topic is important. We are going to understand this topic from a philosophical perspective. Okay, this topic is important for UPSC exam. This is topic number 2, authenticity in a post-authentic world. Okay. Authenticity in a post-authentic world. So let's discuss about this topic. So here, why we are talking about authenticity in a post-authentic world? What do we mean by authenticity? Because it is because, let's say, this article deals with information. What this article, basically the context of this article is, context is fake information, or let's say initially it is information in the age of social media. Okay, information in the age of social media. So let us understand this thing. This is the context, because this is the age of social media. What people are doing, everyone and anyone is sharing information through social media, and the information that is being shared, right, this information may not be authentic. The information may not be authentic, and since the moment it gets uploaded, huge number of people start sharing, resharing those content. And the thing is, even false information gets so much circulated that it seems to be true to many people who do not have, let's say, factual understanding or correct understanding related to that. So this article basically deals with the context, information in the age of social media. So why we are talking about this thing? Because, for example, here the author has given many examples. Okay, author has given many examples. For example, during the tenure of Donald Trump. Okay, Donald Trump. What? During the period of Donald Trump, was Donald Trump said, he said that fake news, right? Fake news should not be spread, right? He just, fake news should not be spread. This is the thing. So Donald Trump basically, let's say, bashed many media houses, media outlets, social media, that fake news should not be spread. During his tenure came the keyword which is known as post-truth. Right? During his tenure came the keyword which is known as post-truth. This is one example. Other example is, here the author has said that authentic, right? So the word what word? Authentic is word of the year. What? Authentic is word of the year according to Merriam-Webster. Okay, according to Merriam-Webster. So we know Merriam-Webster is a dictionary, online dictionary. You can get a lot of information from there. You can put any English word and it's going to give you, let's say, its meaning. It's going to give you some context in which that word can be used. It will give examples also. So according to Merriam-Webster, authentic is the word of the year, right? It is word of the year. So author is actually trying to analyze why authentic is considered to be the word of the year. It is because we are dealing, we are living in a world which is, let's say, totally, right? Totally, let's say, under some kind of information, what we say, some kind of information, we are in a kind of information scarce world, not because of less information, but because of fake information that is there. So here the author is talking about the to thine own self be true. So this means, a lot of examples have been given, and even the author has talked about Mussolini, right? So another example is Mussolini. So Mussolini, as we know, he was, let's say, one of the leaders of, I think, USSR, right? Mussolini even distributed a manipulated photo of himself to a general population. Okay, so this Mussolini, what he did, he distributed, let's say, manipulated photo of himself, manipulated photo of himself among the general masses. So the thing is, this was the time period when, let's say, there was origin of fake information, right? So this talks about origin of fake news or origin of fake information has happened. So this origin of fake information has happened in the year of 1830s, okay, 1890s, during that time. So here the author finally says the world needs to ask itself whether it has slipped down a rabbit hole into the era of post-authenticity, where trust is the biggest casualty. Okay, so trust is the biggest casualty in this era. So it is important that we understand that we are living in a post-truth world. So here, information is being generated through artificial intelligence. It is being spread so rapidly that the thing is making some comparison between authentic and not authentic information becomes very difficult. Okay, so the author simply says that we are living in a post-truth era, we are living in a post-authentic world where information itself is the biggest casualty. Okay, information itself is biggest casualty. So with this, let us quickly move to another article. This article is also very short. We are going to discuss keeping it relevant. Okay, keeping it relevant. So let's quickly understand this. Topic number 3. Keeping it relevant. So let's understand the context of this article. Why we are understanding this? This topic is also associated with the Conference of Parties, COP28, that has happened in Dubai. So basically the COP28 that has happened in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, what has happened? They have come up with Dubai Consensus, as we discussed earlier. They have come up with Dubai Consensus. And this Dubai Consensus, let's say it falls short of, right? It falls short of phasing out, right? Falls short of taking compelling steps, right? Taking compelling steps to phase out, right? To phase out fossil fuels. This is the thing. So in this article, the author finally says that COP meetings must use climate science to promote justice and equity. So it is important that these COP should use climate science. What the COP should focus on climate science. Why climate science is important? Because if we follow climate science, we will be able to provide authentic information related to climate change. And the person who has, let's say, hosted the Conference of Parties 28, right? So that person is, let's say, from United Arab Emirates, and he himself is, let's say, one of the one of the leaders of a big company, big multinational company which is producing oil. A person who himself is involved in production of oil, that person will not be taking, let's say, much step to phase out fossil fuels. So that's why he himself has noted, right, during this Dubai Conference of Party that has happened, he himself has said that it is the climate change related things are not backed by, let's say, scientific evidence. So that's why through this article the author points out that we need to focus more on climate science. Okay, so finally it says that the loss and damage fund, which received commitments worth 750 million and therefore creed as a COP28 success. Okay, so here what has happened? Loss and damage fund, right? Loss and damage fund was made operational, and it has received $750 million, right? $million US dollars. This is the thing. And apart from this, in this article itself, they say that this meeting was historic only when they insert new phrases. I mean, like they talk about that the Conference of Parties become historic if they include new phrases into the document that they release. But the thing is, this COP28 falls short of, let's say, like, compelling words, compelling phrases that talks about phase out of fossil fuels. So they, instead of this, the Dubai Consensus, what they do, they talk about transition away. Okay, they use the keyword what? Transition away from fossil fuels. This is the thing. All right, so you need to understand these things. So with this, we came to another article. It says principal shift. Okay, principal shift. India must take a more vocal position. Okay, so we are going to discuss about this article also quickly. This is topic number 4. Very short article. Let's discuss about this. Principal shift. So what is the context of this article? Why we are reading this article? So let's discuss about the context also. And we are going to discuss about the relevance. This topic is relevant under international relations. The context is the Israel-Hamas war. Right, Israel-Hamas war. This is the context. So what has recently happened? In the United Nations General Assembly, they have passed a resolution. Okay, they have passed a resolution, and this resolution called for humanitarian ceasefire. So United Nations General Assembly along with 153 other nations. So what has happened? In the United Nations General Assembly, a resolution was passed. Right, a resolution was passed, and this resolution was passed by signing of 152 members, right? Signing of 152 members, and India also voted in favor of it. India voted in favor of it. Now let us understand what is this. Basically, as we know that Israel-Hamas war is going on, so if I draw a quick map of Israel, this is where we have Gaza Strip, as I discussed earlier also. We have Gaza Strip located here. We have Egypt as a country, which is located here. We have Syria. We have Lebanon. We have Jordan. We have Mediterranean Sea. And here we have Israel. So the thing is, as we know, that from Gaza Strip, Hamas has launched an attack on Israel on 7th of October this year, and soon after that Israel was, let's say, retaliating, and it's been more than 2 months that Israel is continuously, let's say, like, raiding on Gaza Strip. They have killed around 18,000 civilians over here. So Hamas has earlier captured around, let's say, like, 250 Israelis. They have, let's say, released around 150 Israelis, but still 100 Israelis are in hostage with Hamas. So the thing is, like, Israel has killed many more people. So many countries around the world, they are in favor that there should be a ceasefire. So related to this ceasefire, what has happened, right? Related to ceasefire, India has also joined the voice, right, in the United Nations General Assembly, a resolution that was related to this particular resolution, right? This resolution was related to humanitarian ceasefire, okay, related to humanitarian ceasefire. Humanitarian ceasefire. And India has voted in favor of it. So earlier also a resolution was moved in United Nations General Assembly. That resolution, India has abstained from voting in that resolution earlier. So what is that principal shift? Okay, what is that principal shift? Basically, earlier government of India has said that, like, it did not vote, it abstained from voting because that particular resolution did not have an explicit mention that the attack that was carried by Hamas was a terror attack. So that's why India did not vote earlier. But what has happened now that India has voted in favor of this? Now in the resolution still they have not mentioned that it is a terror attack, but like India has, let's say, like, India has voted in favor of it. So this is just a principal shift it talks about. And recently the US government, UK government, they have, let's say, like, banned some of the people, Israeli extremist people, from entering into US or from entering into UK. So UK related thing is in news today, so you can go through it. Okay, so this is just a short article. It talks about that global principal shift, and there's a mention of global south also. Now this is another article. It says, is Russia winning the Ukraine war? Right? Is Russia winning the Ukraine war? We need to understand this article, right? So basically we know a Russia-Ukraine war is happening. It's been more than a year. In fact, it's going to be about 1.5 years that Russia-Ukraine war is happening. The ground of warfare, the theater of warfare is conventional warfare that they are fighting now. Conventional warfare in the sense they're using conventional weapons. They are not using nuclear weapons. And what Russia wants to do, Russia wants to, let's say, topple the presidency in Ukraine. Okay, Russia wants to capture, they want to, let's say, topple the territory in Ukraine. But is Russia winning? Basically, Russia has recently said, right? So Russia has recently said that it is not going to stop the war until the goals are achieved. Okay, basically, so here it says, when Ukraine captured Robotyne Zaporizhzhia, it was hailed as a breach of Russia's defense. But Robotyne turned out to be a killing hamlet for Ukrainians. And after that, Ukraine counteroffensive. So in this article, basically they discussed the minute things related to Russia-Ukraine war. And here we need to understand that Ukraine wants to join North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. But the thing is, NATO membership, I mean, like, they are still in the discussion mode. So NATO did not include it because, like, this Ukraine is already in a state of war. During a state of war, how other countries are going to negotiate? If they start negotiating, so like they will be taking that warfare onto itself. The purpose of NATO is collective defense. They want to defend, let's say, all the members of the NATO countries, right? So there is an article under NATO, right? When we talk about North Atlantic Treaty Organization, so this was set up under a treaty which is known as Washington Treaty. What treaty? This is known as Washington Treaty. And in this Washington Treaty, there is an article which is known as Article 5, right? It is known as Article 5. This Article 5 on the Washington Treaty, basically this talks about collective defense. What? It talks about collective defense. So collective defense means an attack on any one of us or threat on attack on any one of us will be, let's say, like, will be considered an attack on any one of us will be considered an attack on all of us, and all of us are going to retaliate against the common enemy. This is what is known as collective defense, or under Article 5 of the Washington Treaty. This Washington Treaty has established North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and Ukraine wants to join NATO, but, like, during warfare, NATO members, some of the members were opposing this, so like Ukraine could not join it. So here in this article, they have discussed about how the warfare is happening, right? So you can read this article to understand little more. Here they have talked about some of the reasons for regions. One of the region is Robotyne, other reason is Zaporizhzhia. So what has happened, like Russia has already annexed Crimean Peninsula in 2014. Annexation means uses of force, okay, when you are using force to capture a territory forcefully, okay. So Russia has already done it, and now Russia is, let's say, like attacking on Ukraine. So like, you know, the eastern portion of Ukraine, here heavy deployment is there of Russian forces, and this Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant remains in news. You need to learn about the location of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is located in a territory which is known as Robotyne, and this is a territory of Ukraine, okay. As of now, it is a territory of Ukraine. So what's next? The warfare seems to continue. It's going to continue for a long time, right? Until, let's say, like, you know, it is settled among these two member countries, Russia and Ukraine. So with this, let us quickly move to another article. It says, follow CBI manual on seizure of electronic devices. Supreme Court to agencies. So basically what has happened recently, some of the agencies of the central government of India, that includes the ED, Enforcement Directorate, it includes the CBI, and many other agencies, they were raiding on, let's say, opposition members, they were raiding on the media houses, they were raiding on let's say, like, you know, independent journalists, they were raiding on social media influencers. Why? So because, like, you know, they might have posted some critical comments against the government, right? So they have raided there to maybe, like, you know, to unearth, to get the information whether these people are involved in any kind of terror activities, whether they are involved in money laundering activities and all. So during their raids, during their seizure, the Enforcement Directorate and other agency, they have seized mobile phones, laptops, other electronic gadgets from their from the offices of these media personals, from the offices of the social media influencers, from the offices and houses of the politicians from opposition parties. So, like, you know, this is a breach of the, let's say, right to privacy on one side, right? So right to privacy is recognized under Article 21 of the Constitution of India. So recently the Supreme Court of India was hearing petitions related to this, and Supreme Court of India has come across a manual, right, that CBI, Central Bureau of Investigation, uses before or while seizing electronic gadgets or devices from, let's say, like, you know, from some of the persons, basically, right, some of the media persons and all. So Supreme Court of India has pressed that, like, you know, government agencies must use the CBI manual before seizure activities, seizure of electronic devices. And the Supreme Court of India has also guided the central government to come up with, right, to come up with a manual for each agency within 6 weeks of time period, okay, to come up with a manual. So this is the thing. And so here in this article, they have mentioned name of the justices also. One justice is Justice Sanjay Krishan Kaul and Sudhanshu Dhulia, Additional Solicitor General S.B. Raju and all. So, like, you know, they have mentioned the judges, they have mentioned the petitioners in this article. So it is just a topic for our understanding. Then we have another topic. It says urgent need to control use of e-cigarettes, says WHO. So what are e-cigarettes? We need to understand. Generally, so let me quickly write down about this. The next topic is, this topic is important, so I am writing some important things related to this topic. Maybe it will be helpful for you. Urgent need to control use of e-cigarettes, okay, to control use of e-cigarettes, says World Health Organization. Now let us understand what are e-cigarettes, right? Let us understand what are e-cigarettes. Basically, e-cigarettes are electronic cigarettes, okay? They are electronic cigarettes. These electronic cigarettes contain nicotine. What it contains? It contains nicotine. And because of the presence of nicotine, it raises the risk of, right? It raises the risk of cancer and heart ailments, right? Heart ailments or heart disorders. So this is the thing. And why people use nicotine? It was earlier said that if a person who consumes cigarettes, normal original cigarette, so he has he may have cancer, he may have lung problems. So if you consume e-cigarette, it will reduce, right? It will reduce your habit of consuming cigarettes. So this was earlier promoted. But the thing is, later on it was realized that there is no scientific evidence that if you consume e-cigarette instead of actual cigarette, your habit of cigarette consumption will go down. That's wrong, okay? And what has happened, children started, right? Children started consuming e-cigarettes, right? And since they are consuming e-cigarettes, it is said that there is a likelihood of 3 times increase of consumption of cigarettes by them, right? Consumption of cigarettes by them in the later part of their life. So those children who are consuming e-cigarette now, these children, there is a likelihood that they will be 3 times more prone to consuming actual cigarettes in their lifetime. So this is the thing. And so what are laws in different countries related to e-cigarette? Basically around 34 countries in the world, right? 34 countries in the world have banned, okay? What they have done, they have banned e-cigarettes. They have banned e-cigarettes in their country, okay? They have banned e-cigarettes in their country. And among them, right, India is also one of the country. India has also banned consumption of e-cigarettes. And not only that, in India we have an act also. This is Prohibition of Electronic Cigarettes Act 2019, right? In India we have an act, right? I'm just writing about India. India has an act which is known as Prohibition of Electronic Cigarette Act of 2019. So under this act, stockpile, storage, distribution, consumption of electronic cigarette is completely banned in India. So in India, we do not find any e-cigarette. If people are consuming e-cigarette, they might be procuring it through black market, through let's say unknown channels. This is the thing. So India is among those countries that have completely banned usage of e-cigarettes. But still there are many countries where there is no clear legislation for banning e-cigarettes, and there are countries that have not legislated anything, right? So there people are regularly consuming e-cigarettes, and this is increasing their heart ailment. This is increasing the likelihood of those people to, let's say have cancer in their life. So this is the thing. So e-cigarette is very, very harmful. It contains nicotine. It has a risk of cancer and heart ailment associated with its consumption. So recently the World Health Organization has said, right, it said that there is an urgent need to control the use of e-cigarettes. Then we came to another article. This is very short article from International Relations. In this article, basically this lady that we can see, she is from European Union. So she is one of the, let's say head of agency related to human human rights. So European Union says to resettle nearly 61,000 refugees in 2024-25. All right. So the European Union has committed, means like European Union is going to resettle around 61,000 refugees. And this lady is European Home Affairs Commissioner, okay? She said this thing. Around 31,000 of the total would be resettled via programs run by the UN Refugee Agency, which is known as UNHRC, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee, okay? So this organization is UNHRC, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugee, okay? HCR, High Commissioner for Refugees, like that. So very short article. With this, we will move to another article quickly. So in the beginning of today's discussion, we discussed about Scandinavian countries, that includes Norway, Sweden, Finland and all. And we also discussed that, like, Finland joined the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, right? It has joined North Atlantic Treaty Organization recently, right? It became the 31st member of NATO. So this article talks about that Finland on Monday to sign defense cooperation agreement with the United States of America. So Finland is going to sign a defense cooperation agreement with the United States of America. And recently the, let's say, president of Turkey, he said that, like, Finland has joined NATO. It is because of US's presence, right? There was a under the table deal that US is going to sell some of the weapons, right? Some of the military equipment to Finland. And because they want to sell, they, let's say, included Finland as a member country of NATO. So this was the thing, okay? So that's related to another article. So this is the new, this is the new report. It says Russia's Nordic neighbor Finland became the NATO's newest member earlier this year. So it became a member, and now Sweden also wants to join North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Okay, Sweden is in the process of becoming a member of North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So that will be all from my side for the day. Thank you so much everyone for attending today's session. I hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.